So today we will be interviewing Queen Kateryn Parr. She's here with us today thanks to her lavish time machine she has so graciously invited us into. Was this a gift from Henry?
'Tis a gift from the king. He is so good to me, equipping me with these lavish gifts.
Was your necklace also a gift from the king?
Well, it was a gift from my king.
Do you mean Thomas Seymour? Or Henry?
No.
We are in the future, specifically the 21st century. And we have something to show and tell you. Philippa Gregory actually wrote this book about you. And I had the pleasure of reading it.
Really? Does the king have access to this?
Oh no, honey. This is a safe forum. You can tell us anything.
Is that what the 21st century is like?
Yes, we will be in the 13 colonies when we arrive, which have greatly expanded. So we have many freedoms, although we are still battling women's issues, like you were, and others in your time period. Specifically, we would like to address prevention of pregnancy and feminine appearance in our times and yours.
Oh look, we have arrived. Wow, this place is amazing. What is this?
Well, like I said, the 13 colonies have greatly expanded. We now have 50 states and the same land that the 13 colonies were founded on. And this is our flag to represent them. But don't tell anyone when you go back. It could seriously change history.
Oh, I would never. The making of history and great discoveries is precious to me.
Yes, of course. You truly are a scholar yourself. Let us go take a seat so we can get started. Getting back on track, can you explain to us what the contraception and the feminine appearance issues were in your time and culture?
Well, as you know, Anne Boleyn had birthed a monster. Birth control was seen as witchcraft and was forbidden by the king. There was no luck for Anne, but thankfully for me, I had, well, a better experience. I was warned by Nan of the dangers that could follow pregnancy by the king. She helped me out. I personally used rue, which is made into a tea that we had secretly brewed, of course. I would drink it following my visits to the bedchamber.
What about other women?
Other women found ways to prevent pregnancy by word of mouth, but in private, of course, just like Nan and I did. You would never believe the methods that other women of my time used. Some of them were absurd and extremely dangerous. As you may have read, women used wooden blocks, the rhythm method, herbal remedies, and even charms and amulets.
Yes, I believe I did read that. Fortunately for women today, there are safer methods to prevent pregnancy. Women can take a very small pill each month to prevent unwanted pregnancies and maintain their menstrual cycle. Although many women are allowed to take this pill today without being sentenced for death. Actually, many of the audience members would like to know if it was true that King Henry would sentence you to death if you birthed a miscarriage.
Sadly, 'tis true. I did not drink rue for pure satisfaction. I drank rue to save myself. We all know what happened to Anne Boleyn when she gave birth to a monster. I was simply trying to save myself.
Can you elaborate with us what you know about the so-called monster birthed by Anne Boleyn?
Well, when Anne gave birth, Henry blamed her for witchcraft. The baby was malformed. It had facial and spinal deformities.
That's so unfortunate. In today's time, that would most likely be spina bifida. Also, stillborns aren't viewed as devilish doings. They are viewed as a loss to the parents and usually follow a grieving process. Nowadays, people can terminate a pregnancy for almost any reason. One of being there be a precursor for deformity. this is specifically relates to Anne. How do you feel about having this option in the 21st century?
Oh my goodness, I would never have thought of such a thing. Do people really do that?
In some cases, yes.
Well, I think that it would be hard to raise a child with deformities, but also kill an innocent child. I guess, I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't think that woman should be put to death based on characteristics of the baby she was carrying and or what she did with the baby. I feel as though it was very unfair for women of my time to not have a say in what men used them for and have no legally accepted way to prevent the unwanted pregnancies men had forced upon them. It would be very nice to secretly take a small pill for my own personal reasons and not face a death sentence for making decisions that control
Touching
my
on
body.
Jane Seymour, she died naturally, but did birth a son. What are your thoughts on this?
As you may know, Jane was his prized wife. King Henry even had a portrait made with Jane in it in place of me after all I did for his kids. All he wanted was a son, and she provided that, even though we don't know if he was even Henry's.
That must have made you feel inferior, didn't it?
Well, yes, it did, but I had to keep my chin up and mouth closed. I didn't have a choice.
So, if you don't mind, I would like to ask a little bit about the appearance and how you were looked at by the king and others. Did you ever feel as if you needed to look a certain way to please the king?
Oh, yes. I was to wear the gowns of queens past, and honestly, it was a finger in my face reminding me that I wasn't myself. I was property.
Although society's body image expectations have improved since your time, there is still strife in today's world. There are many women today who feel that they must fit into the mold society has set for them. We try to fight stigmas and eating disorders for women, but it's very difficult with all of the social media magazines of women with perfect bodies that are very unrealistic.
I apologize. I do not understand what you mean by social media and magazines.
Well, just like in your time, when information was passed from person to person, we have these small plastic objects that project an image of everything that is going on in the world between people and allow them to interact at any point in time. They can also show images of other women and the way that they dress and look. See, I can show you.
Oh. Wow.
This is a model in today's society.
Jeez. Wow, that's amazing. I was amazed how you can just put such a tiny image into that small plastic rectangle.
Yes, it is amazing. Yes, isn't it amazing? And a magazine shows images of other women as well. But instead, it's in a form of a very thin, flimsy book. When other women see these images of other women who look like they're perfect or are wearing all of the finest clothes that they can't afford, they become upset with themselves and their body.
Well, in my time, that was just expected and it went unrecognized. We went to the extreme to have the perfect petite figure. Not only that, but we were also expected to use toxic powders on our faces to achieve the prime beauty for our men. Especially as the queen, I would never think to wear my hair done as I did today, as you can see. Although I was traveling in my lavish time machine, which seems to be the only place I can do as I feel without being sentenced to death. I let my hair loose the moment I got in there. However, I do not own very many clothes that don't cover my wrists or are covered in shiny jewels. Therefore, I came here in this long jacket that covers almost every area of my body, just as many of the women of my time were expected to wear long conservative dresses. We clearly do not get as much of a say in the clothes we wear. Back in my time, of course, like you girls do today.
Wow, that must be very frustrating. For you and for many women, actually. How do you think these beauty standards affected Lady Mary and Elizabeth?
Oh, they were always prim and proper. They always had to be. I was like a mother to them, but of course, bearing girls was never enough. The two were affected not only in beauty terms, but also in their thoughts. Little Elizabeth once posed a question to me about women in power, if I thought it was proper. A woman must act like a man to be respected in terms of power, but we are not allowed to do all that men can do.
What do you wish you could tell the girls about feminine appearance?
I would sincerely tell them that they are made in the image of God, and that doesn't mean being less than men. We have power and value beyond our bodies.
What do you think Henry would say about the 21st century?
I think he would be upset. The rights, freedoms, and expectations of women and men now are very different than they were in our time. I think that what you all have in place here takes away all Henry's power over women and his daughters.
Yes, but you have to agree King Henry was a bit crazy and slightly narcissistic. I mean, he only had 6 wives, after all. Oof. There are clearly better kings than King Henry.
I agree. He merely forced me to marry him, and I never truly knew when I would be sent to the Tower. It was like a game of chess with him. You never knew what move he would make next. At our wedding, all I could think about is how disgusting he was as he inhaled plate after plate of food and looked nothing like the king every girl of my time dreamed to marry when I was little.
Yes, I'm so sorry to hear that. That he would play such horrible mind games with you. Also, although the 21st century still seems to make women feel as though they are submissive to men in many ways, King Henry would have no right to talk to you or treat you the way he did here in the 21st century.
Yes, the only nice deed King Henry seemed to do for me was allow me to be regent while he was off on military affairs. But unfortunately, that still seemed to be a somewhat selfish act because he was only doing it to keep his kingdom within the family if he died. I almost wish I could stay in this day and age forever. I will be making frequent visits here often.
Oh, well, we would love for that, wouldn't we? I think that is a yes. If you ever do find yourself in the 21st century again, we would love to have you again. It was truly great getting to hear from the one and only Queen Kateryn Parr. Thank you, Miss Kateryn Parr, for joining us today and taking time to come here with your time machine.
No, thank you. Now it's time to go back. I wish I could stay. I like it here, but I can't change history if I stay here. Goodbye for now.
Want me to sound?
Alright, we're good. Okay.